Okay.
Now, you've just entered the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. If you've come for actual legal advice, you need to turn right around, honey. You need to get out of here, 'cause you ain't gonna get none of that. They quibble, and they squabble, and they bicker. But if you want to hear meaningless opinions, this is the right place. They got plenty of that. Stuff that makes no sense at all. They go off on tangents. It's crazy talk. If that's your thing, keep listening. They'll keep talking.
Oh no no, oh no no, it's another episode of the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. You've entered the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Yay!
Welcome back to another edition of the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this January 20th, 2021. Trump still has not conceded that he's lost the election, but it doesn't matter anymore because he's gone. He's gone his way to Florida, and so onward and upward. Today, we have a very special episode. We have Liz Priestley, who is an actress who is making her debut as Idris Elba's wife. Elba's? It's Elvis Presley. Idris Elba's wife in the upcoming movie Concrete Cowboy that's going to be on Netflix sometime this year. There's no release date at this point, but keep an eye out for Concrete Cowboy somewhere on your Netflix days. And our client for today, which Liz will be guest counsel on later on the show, is Golden Girls and Golden Boys. And we'll get more into that a little bit later. But Liz, thank you so much for coming on to our stupid program. And
Greetings.
and salutations.
I'm really happy to be here. This is like super exciting. I don't think it's stupid at all. I'm like super.
Well, you're a veteran of like 1,000 podcasts, which is more than I can say. So,
Oh yeah.
it's hard to go, okay, so what can we do differently from every other show that you've been on, which I don't know. But I think maybe the thing to start off with is how did you actually get the gig with Concrete Cowboys if this is your very first film role that you've never done one before, but you've been an actor for 30 years. So
Mhm.
what changed? What'd you do different?
It's because if I backtrack a little bit, I always knew that I wanted to do film and television roles. It's just that I started out in theater because that was the most readily available medium to me. And I always was like, I will use all of that experience to get my foot in the door to do the film and television stuff. But, then I had my daughter and it was like, oh, now I've got to work like 9 to 5s and make sure I've got food on the table and all. So it was always kind of pushing that dream to the back burner to take care of other things. And about halfway through 2018, I finally was in a position where I was like, I feel like financially, I don't need to work 9 to 5s all the time. Like I could actually go on auditions. Maybe I could, make this push. And so I did. I called up a friend who I had seen in a TV commercial, and I said, I know you must have an agent or a manager. Typically, you don't appear on TV unless you have representation of some sort.
Right.
So I said, I know you've got someone, right? Do you know if they're seeing new clients or whatever? And that I met his manager and I signed with her. And it was so funny because she said, if we sign together, are you ready to work? And I said, yeah. So she started sending me to daily auditions. And that was really the biggest change for me was, I would sort of find auditions here or there online and maybe submit myself and maybe I'd go, and it would be maybe an audition, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. And then it was suddenly every day, half of them were in New York, half of them were here. So, and, they don't want to hear, oh, I can't afford to get up to New York today, or I can't. No, if you're ready, you're ready. So that was the biggest change for me, was suddenly really diving into the world of film and television auditions and things like that. But as far as how I got the part, I had been working with her. Let's see, I signed with her in March of 2018. And then in May of 2019. So at this point, I've done, let's see, 3 commercials. I still hadn't done any TV or any movies, and then I have just a bunch of theater credits from the past like 25 years. But May 2019, she sends me, you know, an audition. She says, for feature film, here are the sides. And I immediately knew it was different, because usually the things that I auditioned for, I mean, I got a part on the TV show Jessica Jones on Netflix, which ended up being cut for time. But
Oh, those
my
bastards.
audition, yeah, I know. You know, and I told everybody. So I did that like cliche actor thing where I was like, I'm going to be on this episode. And it, like 65 people tuned in to see me.
Oh
And I was,
no.
yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
We saw your absence, Liz. That's where we saw you.
Yes. They were like, good episode. Like, but you know, that audition was one line. Like I remember I went all the way up to New York just to say, how you doing, hun? That was it.
See,
That
you
was
could have
good,
said
though.
it, and you could have said it to us.
That was
without having to
great, by
go
the
to
way.
New York,
Thank you.
too.
Thank you. Yes, I had to reach
did-
deep down.
I felt
But,
you
you know-
actually in that. It was.
Oh,
it
thank
was,
you.
all the way to the bones, really.
This
believed
audition
you.
for the film, they sent me, I mean, 4 whole scenes, and they said, please be off book. And I was like, 4 scenes? Really? 4 scenes? I've got a lot to say, you know.
And be off book
And-
too. That's
Yeah, and it was really,
significant.
it was really intense. The at that point in the audition, the character, she was written as the scene that I had to audition for, the one that they really wanted me to make sure I was off book for, was the scene where she's being evicted from her apartment so that she can, she's being arrested, she's being forced to go to drug rehab. She's there with a cop who's basically like, you got 10 minutes to go in and get your stuff. And the scene is her, you know, pleading with him to give her more time and please don't throw me out on the street. And this whole very big emotional scene. And at that point, I didn't know Idris Elba was involved. I didn't really put the information together because I knew somewhere over here, there was a movie shooting in Philadelphia about cowboys and something about Idris Elba somewhere over here. But I didn't put those two together. And then I got the script and my part had nothing to do with horses or whatever. So it didn't click.
I heard that your part was originally given to Carrot Top, but he declined.
It could have been. Well, you know, it was funny too because
That would have been a very different show.
it would have been a very different movie, and
Brokeback
I
Mountain.
don't know if I could go see that. I mean, you know, anything Idris is in, but that would have been tough for me.
Idris and Carrot Top would have just been a whole different dynamic.
I gotta
Yeah.
say, your manager is so good, Liz, that you found a manager who, within a year or two, you start getting Hollywood roles. Not only do you get a major Netflix show, movie, but you get to hang around with Idris Elba, the handsomest man in the world, apparently. From
You
what I
know,
hear,
and I keep saying, I'm like, I don't know if she knew at the time when she gave me the audition. I don't know if she knew that Idris was involved, but if she did, I really credit her for not telling me, because if I had known early on, I would have blown it, like fully blown it. But even then, the audition, when I initially got the scenes and I'm reading it and I'm like, I love this character. I don't know this character. Sometimes you get a feeling like, oh, I know exactly who this person is. It was one of those, this person is the exact opposite of me. Okay, I'm out of my depth here. But I figured it's a film. I don't have film credits. They're probably not going to cast me, and that's fine. I just want the casting person, who I've seen many times now. I wanted to know that I can do drama, because she had always called me in for like commercials for, like, I call them Walmart moms or like Target moms. You know, the commercials where it's like a mom and her kids, and she's like, who wants fruit smoothies? Who's ready for school? And I'm like, I just want her to know that I can cry. Like, that's all. You know what I mean? So, what I did was I went a little method on my audition, which is not typically something I do, but because, you know, in the script, it was like, she looks like she's lived a hard life. And I was like, ooh, let's go in. So I stayed up for a few days, like did not sleep for a couple days straight. And yeah.
Took some meth and shot some heroin on the way.
Yeah, all of it.
Okay.
All of it. No, I'm kidding.
Full method.
No, I mean, I did drink a lot. I will say that I drank a lot and I stayed up a lot.
wow. We're kindred
Yeah, and
spirits.
then I did like the makeup with like the dark circles and the redder kind of nose and the whole thing, and then I went in there like crying, like sobbing, and I go in, I do the audition, I cry my way through it, and I left, and then they called me back. They said they want to see you again. And at that point, I was like, well, let me do a little digging into this story, because I really didn't do my homework before. So I looked into it. And at that point, that's when I was like, hold up, Cowboy, Philadelphia, Idris Elba, hold up. Because then I looked and I'm like, so my character, she's the mom of this 15-year-old boy. So obviously Idris Elba's not playing the 15-year-old boy. I think he's playing the dad. Oh,
well, you have a great.
I think I'm playing the mom. Like,
well,
That was when you were like, oh, wait, hold up.
Yeah, it was like, oh, wait a second. Hang on.
Well, you've got a great actor
wife.
playing your son in this role, Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things.
I didn't know he was involved at the time either. The only name I knew at that point was Idris, and I immediately was like, well, then I'm not getting this part for darn sure, because I don't have film credits. I was like, there's no way in hell they're gonna give someone opposite Idris Elba no film credits. Like, no. So at that point I was like, well, that's fine. The best I can hope for would be, a stand-in for Kerry Washington or somebody, and that would be fine too. Mm-hmm. So I thought I'll do my best, so at least they could be like, you know what, you're about Kerry Washington's height, we'll bring you in for that. But I immediately counted myself out, because I thought there's no way. So I went in, they called me back on a Monday. So that weekend prior, did the same thing, stayed up, drank a lot, and went in second time, did it. And at that point, they said to me, look, the director is coming out from LA. He would like to meet you. And there's a conversation happening behind the scenes where a producer is, at least one producer, I don't know if it was more than one, was like, look, because this is pre-pandemic. So they were like, we need a name in this part so we can guarantee butts and seats. That's how it works. And he said, I like her, I'm going to meet her, and if she does it again, I'm going to cast her. And that's how it was put to me later. Wow. So I went in a third time, and I did it, and I cried and cried. Like, it was so funny, because I did the same thing, and I go in there and I'm crying, and they're like, oh, he's on the phone, he'll be 5 minutes, he'll come out and get you. At 45 minutes, this man walks out. 45 minutes later, and I'm in a ball on the casting couch in the waiting room, like
in a fetal position.
So long coming in, you son of a bitch.
I think I scared him quite a bit. Like, I don't think he knew, but it was that, and I remember at that point, it wasn't even about crying because that was the character. It was crying because I knew how much I really wanted the part. And I was like, I've gotten so far in the process, and if I don't get it, I'm going to be heartbroken. So I was just crying.
So Liz, are there any kissing scenes with you and Idris? Did you get
you know what? Let me tell you this. I don't want to give this away, but can I say this story? I'm gonna say this story.
You can say the story.
Nobody's listening.
Absolutely.
4 people are listening.
We have 3 listeners. You'll be fine. They won't care. There's
a scene. We have a wonderful couple of scenes, but there was something else. Okay, I'm gonna try to say this in the best way that doesn't get me in trouble. But
no, get in
there
trouble.
was supposed to be a different kind of a scene in there, and that included a kiss. And they took it out.
Kiss.
Yeah, this other scene included a kiss. They took it out. And the day that we shot, it's like, it was my first day on set when I met him. I didn't meet him. That's also an unusual audition thing. Somewhere in the audition, if this was like a big budget movie in LA and whatever, at some point in the audition process, we would have met and they would have made sure we look good together. Like, we're not too tall or short or whatever, and we look cute. And that never happened. So my first day on set was my first day meeting him, and also Caleb, who I then found out was going to be my son. And so I was already like, just starstruck. So I do this whole scene, and then later I'm standing next to the director and we're chatting, and he goes, I'm surprised you didn't surprised he didn't go in and try for a kiss during that take. And I go, well, it wasn't in the script, so I didn't think I should do it. And he goes, well, we originally wrote it in there. We took it out. We didn't think it was necessary. And I just was like, oh,
No, put it back in.
I know. I was like, what?
Oh,
and then he
man.
goes,
Oh
yeah,
no!
but I figured he's like, I figured if you felt it, you would have just gone for it. And I was like, I'm not going to be that actor on her first ever film that's like, you know what? Forget the script. Come here. Like, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Mortified. And I was
Idris,
so
welcome to my
angry.
tongue.
My first major movie scene, and I'm just gonna smooch on the major star, and I'm ad
And I
libbing.
didn't, and to this day, my boyfriend still teases me about this for not going. And there was, when we were shooting a different scene, there was a take where, I'm kind of in his arms or whatever, and I could have sworn his face started coming in for a kiss, and I fully panicked. I wasn't ready. I just was so
And you just
scared, and
clocked him.
I ended up going, I'm not ready.
And then
Oh,
she
wow.
punched him in the face, and then she was fired. It's like, how dare
I
you?
was so scared because I was so, and it's a great lesson. I tell this because I teach acting too, and I tell this to my students. I'm like, never be too married to the script, because there are times when they give you the freedom to just kind of improv, and if you're too scared to do it, then you have a
might not
story
get to
like
kiss
mine where
Idris
you're
Elba.
like, I couldn't kiss Idris. I couldn't do it.
And that's great. I mean, that's got to be intimidating. I mean, I can imagine, your first
It's like-
movie, major movie star.
He was still the reigning sexiest man alive, according to People magazine at the time.
Right,
So it was just
right.
very, and he was newly married right before we started shooting. So his wife was there, and it's like
Making it
oh,
even
hello.
more awkward.
Hi, Sabrina.
So no crotch grabbing either there.
Yeah.
Enjoy kissing my husband.
She
Have a
was
good time.
lovely, by the way. She was lovely. And one of the things I really liked about them, while they were here in Philly, I mean, they weren't just like, let's stay in the hotel, let's not go. They were out and about exploring the different, restaurants and all the things. And I love that. And he was talking to me about it. Like, we were chit-chatting between scenes. He was telling me about how much he loves this city and everything. And that means something to us, because, Philly doesn't have the best reputation.
Yeah, Brenda could talk to you about that.
Could you give our many
No. Let's not get into me and Philly. I spent a lot of time in Philly. I love the city. The football fans, I mean,
Well, yeah.
okay, that's all I'm saying.
Or the hockey fans. I don't know who threw snowballs at Santa. Was that football?
That
or
was the
hockey?
football team that threw the batteries and like bottles at Santa Claus. That was the football team, or
I just
not the
heard
football
about
team,
that.
but the football fans.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
We
anyway,
are.
we're not here to talk about football.
I have no
love
dog in
Philly.
this hunt, so I don't.
I've been there many times. It's a
So
great
they
town.
threw the Liberty Bell at Santa Claus?
Uh,
No. They threw bottles and batteries. I don't know
Oh.
why.
and snowballs and like
snowballs. I don't know why Philly
terrible
fans were carrying
things.
bags of batteries with them, but somehow they were.
They still have boom boxes.
Maybe that was what it was. It was a long time ago. It wasn't recent.
Yeah, it was. But
Oh.
it's like, that's something we just will never live down.
So
it's
if you found
nice
so
when
Concrete
then-
Cowboy. So Greg was confused. We were talking about Concrete Cowboy, and he was thinking that it was a movie about them lassoing sewer rats, and like he didn't really know.
Like,
Or are there
like
lots
cowboy,
of like wild cows
Philadelphia?
walking around Philadelphia that we wrangling? Are there cows walking the streets?
It's well, it's cool too.
You're
When I
walking
got
cows.
cast in this, I said to the when I went for my costume fitting before we even shot, I said to the costume person, I was like, "So this is a fictional story, right?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, let me go on Google and do a little dive." this is why I'm most excited for people to see it. Not just because, Idris Elba shirtless on a horse, because who doesn't want that? Obviously. And you won't be disappointed. But no, I'm really excited for people to know what this story really is about, because I'm, Philly born and raised, and I never knew that there was a cowboy community here until I did this movie. And I had no clue. So I'm really excited for people to see that, where we shot our movie, we shot at a real life stables here in Philly. We have real life cowboys in our movie playing cowboys. One of the main characters is a cowboy who's never been in front of a camera before, and he was amazing.
So they don't lasso like sewer gators or anything like that?
No, I wish that would be a cool movie too. No, it's just very much about like this community of Black cowboys that have existed in Philly since the Civil War. And it's not just in Philly, there's major cities all over the country, but they've been here since the Civil War, and they've basically existed as places to keep youth off the streets. That's really what they are there for. They teach kids skills. Like, you have to, before you can even get on a horse, you got to learn how to clean it, care for it, pick up the poop, all that stuff. But they're teaching these kids all of it. And then you see like kids teaching other kids how to ride. And it's just a beautiful thing. And they've been around forever. They're losing funding like crazy, but it's a really neat story. And that's kind of the cool thing, is that, my character, me and my son, we're in Detroit when our movie opens. And when I do finally say to him, I've done everything I can for you. I can't continue, like, you're spiraling and I can't do anything more for you. I think your dad needs to be involved. He just thinks he's going to Philly to meet a dad he's never met. He has no idea that his dad is also a cowboy. And so when he gets there, it's like, what?
Well, he finds out his father is Idris Elba too, and he's like, yes. Idris Elba, you're my father?
Maybe I'll look
your father's Idris Elba?
He's thinking it's some sort of reverse Fresh Prince of Bel-Air thing.
I know, right?
I'm going from Detroit to Philly, which is kind of like going from Philly to LA, I guess.
Kind of?
No.
I mean,
better water.
It's not much of a step up.
I don't know if you've seen that clip that they've released online, but I love the clip where it's, Caleb walking into the house and he just sees a horse. And he's like, you keep a horse in your living room? Like, I love that that's the clip that they released, because I'm like, yes, that is the heart of the movie right there, being like, what the hell did I just walk into?
And it was like a row house too, wasn't it? It was like a walk up. So he has to walk the horse into this townhouse.
And this is in the heart of the city, not the suburbs.
Yes.
This is in the heart of Philly.
I
never knew horses were house pets.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that scene was based on a true story from one of the cowboys that inspired this movie. But apparently that's something that is frequently done sometimes when the stables close and they don't have places to put the horses. Some of these guys will just be like, all right, well, it's coming home with me. And they stay.
I wonder how many people try to flush the baby ponies down the toilet and they ended up in the sewers, like the alligator in New York City. That could happen. There could be a whole horse herd down there.
Flushing ponies down the toilet?
That's like alligators.
There'll be a gigantic toilet, right? You know what size horses are when they're born?
Well, yeah.
They're bigger than the toilet.
We love our Greg. Greg.
Yeah, I'm a special creature. One of God's special creatures.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow. That's amazing.
They dive in after the pony and then they ride them on the way down the sewer.
They could just throw them down a sewer manhole, just like. We got to get rid of this pony. Our landlord's going to evict us because we have a pony in our apartment.
So before
hopefully you don't go that extreme.
Before you got this gig, you were obviously a mom and you were supporting your kids. What were you doing? What was life before this?
I keep saying I'm gonna write a book because I basically worked in every industry that you could possibly think of, including the unsavory ones. Yeah, I did whatever I needed to do to put the food
When
on the
you were in the
table.
mob?
I was I can't answer that.
She was a telemarketer.
Oh, there we go.
I
That's
sure
unsavory.
was. I sure was.
That's an unsavory business.
It's
having
horrible.
done it myself.
Sales and telemarketing, cold calling, any of that. Now that I've done it, I'm like, I have a new respect for you, but I also am just like, just don't ever call me ever. But I mean, I also, I put myself through EMT school at one point.
Wow.
You do whatever you think you need to do to put food on the table, and then of course you're also going. Not against, but because I don't want it to sound like my family wasn't supportive, but there were times where they were like, you need to find a career, like not, you need to not work at a gym anymore. You need to actually find a career. And it would always be like, I have found a career. I'm just not there yet.
So did you get a chance to use your EMT training on the movie? Did you get to resuscitate a horse at some point?
No, I didn't. And I'm bummed about it. No, I don't know if I would have been effective with a horse, but I haven't been in a certified EMT in some years, so I probably shouldn't do it anyway. But
did you get any music
still remember
gigs,
like
Liz?
basic CPR and stuff. But yeah.
Did you get any music gigs during this time? Because I know you're a musician and a singer. Were you working in that field?
I wasn't as much. I really. Once I graduated college, I really wanted to put that behind me because, here where I grew up, everybody really does know me as a singer and a musician. They don't really know about the acting side yet. And so that's also been why it's so frustrating that this, with the pandemic and everything, that the movie's been pushed back so much because when it was first announced that I told everybody and they were like, Are you still doing any singing these days? And I'm like, no, Idris Elba, you're not getting it. Like, okay. But it is. But I really tried to put that behind me. I really wanted to be known as an actor. So I really just stuck with theater and then whatever else acting wise that I could get my hands on. But even like musicals, I was like, no, I don't want to. When I signed with my manager, she was like, can I submit you for Broadway stuff, musicals? And I was like, no, thank you. And
you never got to do Seven Brides for Seven Brothers?
Yeah. Broadway is amazing. And I love musical theater. I really do. There was a time in my life where I think I could have done it if I really wanted to. I think that time is past. I mean, I can't dance anymore. I have injuries and I've been out of it for so long that even my voice is not the same. But to that end, I really don't miss it the way people would think I do. I really don't. Mm-hmm. And I never, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you can still drink and cry.
I mean,
and that's really what propelled you to this next level.
Greg, that means you could do it too.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what a great actor.
I think you should write a book. I think there's a lot of people out there who, get to a certain point in their lives where they've raised kids, they've had a corporate job, or they've done whatever, and they lose track of their dreams. And I think your story is really great because you never lost sight of it. You were practical, but you never lost sight of it. And I think a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. A lot of people's first reactions when I told them, hey, I'm making my film debut and not just a small film, but this is like a thing. A lot of people's first reactions to me, and it was so funny to me, was, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you because you never gave up all this time, because I've been talking about this for 20 years. I always knew this is what I wanted to do. It just was a matter of, now how am I going to get there? And, there's no such thing as an overnight success in this industry. No one ever, decides to become an actor and then the next day they're an A-lister. Like, it always takes time. And I knew that, but I feel like my family especially, or people who knew me, for them, it was always difficult to see how much time it was taking. And in the meantime, yeah, I mean, I did try to be practical because, I have my daughter's 13 now, so it's wonderful. But, especially when she was younger, and like with the EMT thing in particular, I liked being an EMT. It's great money, but I stopped because when you start out in that industry, they usually give you the really terrible overnight shifts to start.
Right.
And so I'm working all night, sleeping all day. I have a 4-year-old, and I was like, well, I'm not even seeing her grow up. This isn't worth it. So I stopped being an EMT, So there's a lot of hit and misses, stops and starts. There were a lot of dramatic things that happened along the way. But I always felt like, even if this is going to take a couple of years, this is just temporary until I can get to where I want to get to. So I really appreciate that, because it was hard because, my family is wonderful. They're very supportive, but there were times where they were just like, I mean, I have 5 sisters, and you get a house full of women together, someone's bound to be real catty. And over the years, I've heard many times from one or more of my sisters, something along the lines of, so does Liz still think she's gonna be discovered?
Oh, how great is
I'm
this for
like-
you?
And that's the thing. It's like it's so hard. It's like it's the guy who has been playing in bars forever, and everybody's like, yeah, he's gonna get a record deal. But sometimes they do, and I think that's a great tribute to this story.
Like Huey Lewis.
I think this is actually a perfect segue to addressing our client for the day, which is Golden Girls and Golden Boys, because Liz, as guest counsel, will have to take the advocacy role for Golden Girls, because this is something that apparently she has a strong passion about, which the 3 of us are idiots about. I binge watched 8 episodes of Golden Girls yesterday, so I could have a clue.
Nice.
About having this conversation.
That's called due diligence, Liz. He's very serious about his job.
Yeah, Liz, you wouldn't know about due diligence as an actor.
Actually, I have to say, part of the reason my family reacts the way that I've described is because I come from a family with not 1, not 2, but 3 lawyers. So when your email popped up, law offices of quibble, squabble, and bicker, I had a good long laugh about it, because I'm so used to seeing law offices of George A. Priestley. And then I first saw it and I was like, oh, who am I being sued? And then I was like, quibble, squabble.
We're different
and then
kind
I
of
laughed for a good long while. So
We're very different.
But you don't
So
grow up a lawyer's daughter without learning a few things. So I probably do know more about due diligence than you think. Yeah. And
so which of your 5 sisters?
I'm the kind of person that will scream at the court procedural television shows, because I'm like, you're doing it wrong. That's not realistic. I'm that girl.
You're a backseat lawyer.
Nice.
Aren't most of them, Greg?
Are they? I don't know.
I think they are. They all sit in the lower pews in the courtrooms. Anyway, so I'm assuming your interest in Golden Girls stems from having 5 sisters and you're all in the same house together. There must be somebody who emulates one of the other older actresses. And the reason we're doing Golden Boys is because I realized that the 3 of us, excluding you, of course, Liz, are about the same age as the ladies their characters were in that show.
Are we that old? Really?
Yeah, yes.
They were in their 50s?
They were in their early 50s in that show. And we were sadly in our early
I'm old
as well. Although that all changes for me this year when I become in my mid 50s. I was actually in my early mid 50s for this past year, and that'll be in my mid 50s in about a month and a half.
Mid.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because a year later I'll be in my late mid 50s.
Are we parsing mid and mid?
I guess we are.
Do that.
Really?
I parse that. Yes. Yeah.
I blame it all on
There's
Steve
difference.
You're gonna go back to being
mid is like the 4, 5, and 6 years, and then late is like 7, 8, 9.
Exactly. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, Brendan, how old are you? You're 51, right?
I'm 51. I'll be 52 in April. I think we should all just start counting months. Like, how many months old are you?
like little kids do. Like I'm
little
6
kids
and a
do,
half.
right?
So great. So Brenda, you're in your early 50s right now.
Is that mid early? 51?
Yes.
Isn't that early?
It's
That's
mid
early.
It's mid early.
Mid
50
Yeah,
would be
because
early.
it's the set of early, but you're in the
Yeah.
middle of that set.
So
Yes.
at
I'm with
53,
you. I got you.
at 53, I become mid.
No, you'll be early
Mid.
Yeah, you'd be early mid 50s.
So 4 is the falling off point to late mid.
4 is the mid.
Mid.
55 is late mid 50s.
This is the most
Okay.
enlightening conversation we've ever had. In our podcast.
I'm
Brilliant.
writing this. I'm writing this down.
If you hit 56, you're the early late 50s.
Yes.
Yes.
If I hit 62, I'm probably lucky to be alive, but I'm gonna make a note. All right, I got it now. Thanks, Matt.
You're very welcome. And I think, Greg, you can say you're saying about Blanche now, just to get it out of your system.
What? That Blanche is a fine woman.
No, you
Is that
never
what you
said that. You did not say that.
Okay,
In
so
our
Liz,
pre-conversation, that was not.
Liz,
how you
I've
describe
barely
Blanche.
seen Golden Girls, but all I know is that basically Blanche is a slut. that's all I know of her character.
If you're familiar with Sex in the City at all, she's the Samantha of that.
Yeah,
group.
exactly.
Never watched
Good
either
call.
show.
I watched a lot of that because I had
I
a
didn't-
girlfriend who liked it.
Oh, is that the reason, Greg? Sure.
Yes, it was. I just needed to be a good boyfriend. I did my due diligence
Is that the
Good for
as a
reason?
you.
boyfriend.
Sure thing, Greg. I didn't watch Golden Girls because at the time it came out, I was in my 20s and I didn't care about old ladies. And
Yeah.
but after watching 8 episodes of it, actually it was kind of entertaining because the writing on that show was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's better than you think, and actually a lot of those episodes hold up. Like I was watching the Golden Girls last night actually, and the last episode I was watching before I went to bed was an episode about a young Mario Lopez making his TV debut, playing a student of Dorothy's, who it turns out he's an illegal alien and he gets deported.
Yeah,
Wow.
supposedly,
That was 1986.
supposedly
It's-
George
it's-
Clooney was in that show for one episode too.
Yes, he made his debut. Tarantino is in that show. He got his Screen Actors Guild card in an episode of The Golden Girls playing an Elvis impersonator. He has no lines. And he's
Wow.
just in the back with a group of Elvis, but he's got that distinctive Quentin Tarantino chin. You know what I mean? You'd recognize
Yes.
him anywhere.
Well, it's a Tarantino
Wow.
head, really. It's the
Yeah, it's like a whole.
The
Yeah.
whole thing.
yeah.
It's really interesting. The because I didn't watch it, but my oldest daughter, who's 25 and a film student and very much a media consumer, loves the show. Because I told her, I said, we're gonna go talk about Golden Girls. I have nothing, and she's like, "Oh, Dad, come on, really? You've
It's-
never watched it?"
It's my 20-year-old sister's favorite show. 20. She's 20. And when
Right.
Golden Girls was on, I mean,
Well, you're not much
let's
older
just
than
say
that,
in the
right?
80s, I was in single digits in the 80s. You know what I mean? So when it came on, I wasn't watching it. It was later that I got into that show. And as an adult, it's just one of the shows that I throw on when I need background noise, when I don't know what to watch, when I want to laugh, whatever. It's usually Golden Girls.
Betty White's amazing. The little I've seen of Golden Girls, she cracks me up so much. When
Betty
she
White
tells those
just
little
turned.
stories.
Betty White just turned 99 on Sunday.
I
I
know,
saw that.
99. It's amazing.
And she's sharp as a tack.
Insane. That is
She-
insane.
She's been in television, I think, longer than any other actor in television.
She was the
You know,
oldest
and
of the
like,
Golden Girls.
so I'm a big trivia buff. I love trivia stuff, and like I'm that girl that once bars and stuff open up again, like bar trivia nights, I need to be there. But she and Blanche, speaking of, when they went to audition for those parts, or whatever, because she had played Sue Ann Nivens on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Betty White had played Sue Ann Nivens, which is a Blanche Devereaux type of character. She's a man-eater, sex fiend type of character. And Rue McClanahan, who had played like a country bumpkin type character on Mama's Family. So when they brought them in, they were actually supposed to play each other's parts. And then they got to talking, and Betty White was like, you know what? I just don't want to play another man-eater character. I'd rather play the ditzy airhead. And Rue McClanahan's like, yeah, I'd like to play a man-eater for a change. So they switched in the auditions. And that's why Rue McClanahan ended up playing Blanche and Betty. But can you imagine Betty White being Blanche on that show? It would never have lasted.
No, that's
No, that doesn't
I
make
can't
any
even imagine
sense.
it.
My question
It's
is,
so perfect.
why isn't it time for an all African American remake of that show?
They did a reading, okay, on YouTube, like at the very end of 2019. And first of all, the
Was Taylor
concept
Perry
of
in it?
that sounded amazing, but the actual execution of that was a big, huge letdown because they cast people who were nowhere near the right age range. It was Tracy Ellis Ross, Sanaa Lathan, and I think Regina
Taylor Perry?
King. Yeah. And it was none of those women even look like they're in their 50s, much less older. You know what I mean? And and then I think they were plagued with like technical issues, so you couldn't even really hear what they're saying. It was really terrible. It was a virtual read, but I was so excited because it was an all black, all female black cast, and I was like, that's great. And I didn't like it. So
And
if
no one
they
would have
actually
believed they were
do it
Italian
right,
either.
yeah, if they do it right, I think it'd be fucking cool.
I think
Could they
that's
actually
one of the
show
great
them
things
as?
about Golden Girls. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt.
Yeah, I was just wondering if they could show that they would be coming from Italy too, because you wouldn't know
Mhm.
about the African Italian culture, and that would give a whole new.
African Italian culture. Yeah, I mean,
They're there.
Yeah.
I figure they
I
gotta
was
be
gonna
there.
say one of the most radical things about Golden Girls was like, there's obviously ageism in Hollywood. Well, there is in the real world, but it was like
Yeah.
a show about these, older women, and they were doing things. Usually, older women like that age in movies are just the grandma. They're boring. They don't have any agency. But like,
They don't have a sex life. They don't have
Exactly,
problems with gambling.
That's
they
the
don't
main
have,
thing I was thinking of is like, yeah, they don't have sex
Yeah.
anymore. It's over.
It's kind of amazing that show lasted for as long as it did, and of course they all won Emmys for their parts and well deserved. But yeah, we don't see shows like that anymore. I mean, if you went into a network now and tried to pitch a show about 4 geriatric women, they'd be looking at you like,
Or even
No.
us. What about a show about us? The Golden Boys.
I think that'd be awesome.
I think they would have said, "Oh yeah, that's what we need is more old white men on
A
television."
gender
Will you
yeah,
talk to
well,
Netflix
I mean,
about this? Will you use your Netflix connections to hook us up?
Oh yeah, we know we're the enemy here. We definitely
had
know
Netflix
this.
connections.
I-
I wish I had Netflix. This whole experience has been so weird. Like, I feel like there's like steps in the movie making process that were just missed in this probably because of the pandemic. But like, there's so many things that people are like, wait, did you get this? Or did you get to do this? And I'm like, no.
Squabble and bicker. If you've come
Sorry. Somehow I hit a button on my headset and it started the intro.
I was like,
no.
I think
I
we're
don't know
done.
why. That was bizarre.
No, it's all good.
I didn't know it could do that.
We were supposed to, if we had a red carpet premiere for the movie, we were all going to enter on horses. Like, there was a whole thing that was planned, and we
cool.
missed out on all of that. So it's like, I feel like I'm missing out on a certain part of the experience that,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But now I have no Netflix connections. It's so upsetting.
Yeah, no, I mean, my daughter graduated from film school, and she was like trying to find jobs, and the pandemic is going on, and she's in Washington. She's
Oh.
writing people down in LA, and they're going, don't come down here.
Don't come down there. No, tell her to stay where she is. Yeah, it's such a pain. It's like, that's been the only terrible thing. And I do feel bad, I don't want to complain about it because in the grand scheme of things, it's like, I'm here in my apartment. I have my health. I have the luxury of not having to work a 9 to 5 right now. And, as far as I'm concerned, I get to lay low and that's fine. But, gosh, I so wish that, that I was still going up to New York to audition, or that I had the ability to go out to, Los Angeles and meet people from the studios and all this stuff that I just have not been able to do. And it's funny because when we were filming the movie, people would come up to me and they would say, "Oh my gosh, are you excited? Your parents are going to get to walk in a theater and your face is going to be up there." And I kept saying to them, "Oh yeah, well, no, in my life, I'll probably end up on Netflix or something."
Oh no!
Oh,
Which
Damn
isn't
you,
a bad thing.
coronavirus.
Actually, it's probably
That's
better
not a bad
that you're on
thing.
Netflix during a pandemic because everybody's captive.
It's like the best situation that could possibly
Exactly.
happen. Because I said to somebody, I was like, but everyone I know has Netflix. Do you know what I mean? Like, not everybody I know has Prime. Not everybody I know has Disney Plus or Hulu, but everybody that I talk to is like, yeah, I have Netflix. So
Yeah.
I'm like, and plus Idris has a great Netflix relationship. All his movies are coming on Netflix. So I was like, you know what? If it had to be anybody, I'm very glad it's Netflix. But I blame myself for the pandemic. I think I talked it up, you guys.
I
Oh,
can't
you
even
caused
afford a
it?
pizza
Wait, were you in
delivery, and I have
China
Netflix.
like last year?
No,
Did you
I was
cause this?
here. No, I was here.
wait a minute.
Okay.
I seem to remember Trump saying something about somebody,
Some actress
Patient
some
zero.
was
actress
in
Eating bat
Wuhan.
was a horse. I don't
Eating
know,
bats.
I was eating bat
Philadelphia.
soup on my horse, talking to Aegis, like,
Bat
yeah.
Liz, which golden girl do you identify with the most? If you were a golden girl,
Oh,
who's
man.
your spirit golden girl?
Coco.
God, it's just so embarrassing, but it has to be Blanche, and not because I feel like I'm a slut.
You tramp.
There's something about her. So, perfect example. There's an episode where like a famous actor comes to town and he's going to be in a production of their community theater play, and they go to audition to play his leading lady. And Dorothy's up there and she's giving a real dramatic reading, and it's nice, and he thank you, Dorothy. And then he calls up Blanche and she says, "Just a moment," and she takes off her jacket and she's got this giant push-up bra that's been like inflated to within like an inch of its life, and she takes off the jacket and her boobs are out to here, and she's all like, and she goes up there and she does the scene with a straight face, and then he literally, like, he goes to hug her and he ends up popping the bra. But I that is a perfect example of me, because that push-up bra is the equivalent of going method for an audition, and I respect that. I was like, that's me.
That's how you got the concrete cowboy job.
If I had been
Did you have that
thinking
push-up bra in your
at
audition?
any moment that I could have met Idris during that audition process, you bet your sweet bippy I would have had a huge blow-up bra on. I would have been like, "Hey, Idris, hello." Like, it would
You would
have
have
been
worn a
amazing.
corset.
Welcome
Yeah.
to my bookshelf.
He would have been like, I can't work with this woman. Like, I cannot. But Blanche is great. But I love Rose because of the innocence of her. I love the fact that, like, she's the kind of person that will hear the story of Henny Penny and then be upset because Henny Penny dies in the end because a fox eats her. Like, that, I love Rose for that. And
Wait, Henny Penny, that's the sky's falling?
mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Just want to
They
make sure
get
it wasn't
eaten
like a former girlfriend of Greg's or anything.
No, there's an episode where they're putting on the play Henny Penny, and then she finds out that they get eaten by Foxy Loxy at the end, and she just, "I can't believe you call yourself a teacher, and this is what you teach children about death." And I was like, I love that. I love it.
And Foxy Loxy's a brand of salmon, right?
Yes. Foxy Loxy is a brand of salmon. Yes.
Okay.
What's-
Made of
Made of
fox, though.
fox.
Smoked
Fox
salmon.
meat.
Yeah.
Salmon
I
slash fox on your
I did
bagel.
no research for this. I didn't watch any. I just drank and cried a lot.
Yes. As you do.
Yeah, but so I was going method. Wasn't there like a really old one, like the grandma, like the oldest of the group?
Sophia.
Sophia.
Yeah. And
I identify with Sophia. The episodes that I did
she's
watch,
great.
she's great. She's just angry and get off my lawn.
Yes.
And yes. So
Well, so she and Dorothy are kind of that old kind of cranky, but like where Dorothy is just like a total cynic. Sophia has those moments, her classic line was always, "Picture it. Sicily, 1955 or whatever, because she always had the old world wisdom with the stories. But what I like about that show is that all four of those women, they're really just they're archetype characters, and so you see yourself in all of them. And it's a brilliant formula that has been stolen and repeated many times over. I mean, that's why Sex and the City was able to take off, because you can really trace the parallels back to the Golden Girls characters.
Oh yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, they literally just made the Golden Girls for a new generation set in a new city. And then they did that again with the show Girls. Lena Dunham's show Girls is, again, a parallel to the Golden Girls.
And even Queer As
Great
Folk.
formula. Well, I'm sorry?
You used to watch Queer As Folk? That almost took the whole
oh my
formula,
gosh,
too.
back in the day, yes, I watched Queer as
Yeah.
Folk.
And the L Word. All the, those
And the
shows
L
all
Word.
kind of-
So it's like you get this kind of TV formula that works, and then people just try to duplicate it
Like
for
Aqua
every
Teen
hit show.
Hunger
But
Force, right?
yeah, but it's almost like, well, if it ain't broke, you know what I mean? But Golden Girls to me is kind of the original of that classic example of where you could take four different personalities and put them in a show together, and you as the viewer, this week I feel like I'm more like a Sophia, and this week I'm more like a Blanche, and and so on and so forth. But
I have a question
I
though.
love it.
I have a question. I'm like, why the hell were they all in the same damn house? That's the thing I could not figure out. One of them's a teacher.
Which
She could have her
did
own.
you watch?
I watched the first 8, and
they say in the pilot.
It didn't really make sense, though. It didn't make sense that all
They
these
wanted
ladies
company. They were
Yeah,
older,
but they're
divorced.
not that old. They're like our age, Greg. And the
I
thing
know, but
is
they're
that
divorced.
Yeah.
there's no reason for us to all be living together either.
It's
Matt,
not
if you
like-
got
we were-
divorced and Brendan
Yes.
got divorced, I'd want to
Yeah.
live with you guys.
I would
To
want to
save
live
money
with
on
any of
rent.
you.
I
That's
wouldn't want to
so
live with either
nice.
one of you.
No, you're nuts.
It would be nice to have company.
That would be like the worst odd couple show ever.
But
It
they
is
got
weird.
married.
Maybe that's the
It'll be a mass murder by the end of the first week.
Maybe that's the
Like
beauty
blood on
of
the walls.
the Golden Boys show is it's 4 50-year-old men who all are divorced, living with each other, with Greg who never got married, and we all are plotting on how to kill Greg. And every
Or evict
episode
me, at
ends
least.
with us going, well, we didn't kill Greg today, and then the laugh track kicks in.
Or at least kick me out of the lease, at the very least. You don't have to
That's right.
murder me.
And
Just
once a
get
week,
me-
we're trying
get
like
rid of
some
me.
new drug that wasn't around when we were in our 20s. So we're doing,
You know,
crystal
I
meth
do-
and
I do think it is weird that they all live in that. They do explain it, but it is weird. And again, I don't know. Maybe it was different in the 80s, but like, it is weird that like they're not all Sophia's age. Like Sophia was living in a nursing home before she moved.
she was
right?
like in her 80s. But the other ones
Yeah,
are in their
the
50s.
other
One of them's
three,
a
it's just
working
like-
teacher.
One of them, it's like the other three. It's like one of them moved from Minnesota after she got divorced. I'm like, is it because you didn't have a lot of money, so you needed a roommate? Like, I don't know. That to me is kind of weird, but I love it.
Yes, it is.
When I was a
It
kid,
doesn't
I always
make any
thought they were in
sense.
a retirement community. I think they were retired when I was a kid. I didn't realize that they were still working.
The only
age.
one that's retired really is Sophia, and she even volunteers in
Okay.
different episodes. I mean, Blanche works at a museum, Rose works at a hospital and a grief center, and Dorothy is a substitute teacher. So yeah, they all work except for Sophia.
Oh, she was a
Okay.
substitute teacher. I thought she was a regular teacher.
No, and the only reason I know that is because the episode, I'm such a super fan, you guys. This is so sad. It's because the episodes where Dorothy's sister comes to visit, played by different actresses in every episode.
As are my
That's-
siblings.
Yeah, me too.
Liz, this may be the only episode of my podcast my daughter will watch because one, you were in a movie with Idris Elba, who she thinks is just the hottest guy ever.
I
And
mean,
two,
he is.
and
I do
two,
too.
you're a Golden Girls fan, so she wouldn't watch any of these other episodes, but she might watch this one. So
That is so cool. And what is your daughter's name?
her name's Bridget.
Bridget. Hi, Bridget. And I watched the Golden Girls too, and I think it's awesome. So yay! I hope you're listening.
And Bridget,
no,
you're willing to be your intern as soon as the pandemic's over, and she's willing
heck
to move in with
yes. I need an assistant with all these podcasts. I can't
There you
keep them
go.
straight.
you. I
Oh,
don't know, how could you? Especially with me like messaging you every day.
You're fine. It's like if I get, 5 requests in the same week, I'll be like, ugh, I might write 3 of them down. And then 2 of them, I'm like, well, we're just going to pray that I remember,
Well, your
Um,
publicist is a madman. He is like
He's awesome. He's,
booking the crap out of us on different things, and we're not even a client of his. I'm
I
like,
mean,
what's going on here?
I literally, shout out to Steve Joyner. I just started working with him a few months ago. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm now a veteran of 1,000 podcasts. I mean, literally since October, I think we did the math. It's like 97
Wow.
podcasts we've done,
Wow.
including this one. This is my
And so
97th.
that's gotten you at least 3 additional viewers for your movie.
Yeah, this
Yes.
is 97 and a half.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it. This is like a whole different world that and what's funny is I've been in talks with a friend of mine to do a limited podcast on, we're going to be talking about Sex in the City, which I will be bringing up the Golden Girls. So
Yeah,
Look
I
at that.
didn't
I
know.
was
Well,
like,
I'm glad you didn't
what?
say Sex in the City, because I've definitely never seen an episode of that show either, and that would have been just confusing.
It's and it does something that no, rather, let me switch it around. The Golden Girls does something that the Sex in the City was never able to do, which is why ultimately I don't think it's as successful, is that the Golden Girls was incredibly diverse for the 80s. You have characters of all different nationalities, religions, backgrounds, all this stuff coming in and out of the episodes, whereas Sex in the City is notorious for being a show set in the 2000s in New York City with absolutely no characters of color whatsoever except for one episode, and it was
In New York
problematic.
City? And
In New York
is
City.
definitely the whitest.
In New
That is
York. I was like,
true.
first of all, how are you set in the 2000s and it's a show about 4 women and all 4 of you are white? Like white, like not even like a little
White.
nothing.
So
white?
Sex in the City should have been really Sex in Minneapolis, or some more
Sex in
wider
South
town.
Africa.
and don't get me
Sex in
wrong,
Seattle.
I don't get me wrong. I like the show because again, I'm a Golden Girls fan. I see the parallels. There were certain things I really liked about it. But the fact that the only time you see a person of color is when one of the characters dates a black guy and his sister is like, I don't like the fact that you're dating a white bitch. You need to break up with her. And he does. And that's end of episode. Never to
Oh,
be talked
wow.
about again. I said, oh, that's problematic.
Oh, that's ugly.
Yeah. So, I prefer the Golden Girls. I prefer the Golden Girls. No,
Did Blanche ever date a
it's a
person
great
of
show.
color? Did Blanche ever date a person of color?
She did. She dated a Cuban guy, and then she was dating Sophia at the same time.
My people.
But she dated a blind guy. She dated a guy in a wheelchair. She dated
Wow.
A blind
but,
guy in
like,
a wheelchair.
there was
A blind guy and a guy in a wheelchair. Blanche.
a blind
Blanche,
guy, a guy in a
Yeah.
wheelchair. Yeah,
was very
Cuban
progressive.
I told you guys, she spread her legs for everyone. Blanche was
No,
a
it
slut.
just means she was very
Blanche
diverse.
was an equal
I'm sorry.
opportunity dater, and I love that about
I'm
her.
kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
don't
kidding
like
because I
using the
love-
term slut for women any more than I would use it for men, just because people.
I use
just-
it for men, and I use it as a positive thing.
You
I've
know,
known a
I
lot
just
of
figure
sluts in my
you do
life,
your
and I
own
love
thing
them.
and you catch your own diseases, and that's just kind of how it's going to work.
And it's something
Yes.
that never happened to Blanche during the entire run of the show, which I did find unrealistic. But
Well,
You
I
know,
did
they-
in one of
they
the
had
episodes.
time-
B. Arthur's character did talk about how Blanche had to get through a particular decade through the use of penicillin, other than
through the penicillin, yes.
yes.
It's
So
a
I think
classic
maybe
line.
she worked up like an immunity to sexual diseases. It's kind of like Greg in the pandemic. He's been through so many dumpsters that his immune system is incredibly strong, and so it could be that Blanche's
Yeah.
immune system, from having fought off all the various different sexually
It could
transmitted
be.
diseases, that they would
Yeah,
shun her.
she's immune to
She's got
STDs.
like a super crazy immune. I mean, it's like they do the whole
She's like
scare
Wolverine.
episode.
She's
but
got like
it's not with
syphilis
her.
armor.
Yeah. Syphilis armor. Yeah, no, they do like a whole AIDS scare episode, but not with her character, which I thought was interesting because again, the 80s.
I mean, her
But
oldest son's name was Chlamydia, wasn't it? Anyway.
Who was the AIDS
But
scare
bump,
about?
tip the waiters. Matt will be here all week.
Who was the AIDS scare episode about?
Yeah, I think I might have stolen that joke
it has to
from
do with
somebody.
Rose, who worked in a hospital, and she
Oh, that
she
makes
had
sense.
she had pricked her hand on a needle.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, you have to take the test. And it was like her having to wait for the 3 days. You know, it's like 3 days for the test results. I'm like, oh God, thank God we're not there anymore. But
it's so interesting how the 80s treated AIDS. Like you can think of all the different like TV shows that like did a very special episode.
A very special,
and dealt with,
yes.
And did with that and how weird it was back then. But
or
how go ahead.
I think it's interesting that they always did it, you know, those very special episodes always, you know, not always, typically tended to be Rose that had the issue. Rose was also the one that was addicted to painkillers for like a decade.
Really?
Couldn't shake the addiction. And she also was the one that had she was adopted when she was a young child, and then she met her biological father at the hospital. So like all those kind of very special episodes seem to happen with the most innocent person of the group, which I always found interesting. I was like, is it because you don't think we can handle it if it happens to like Dorothy or something? But yeah, they did do a few of those.
I guess it's that conflict of, oh, she's innocent, and now we're going to put her in this weird position, and you're all going to feel super awkward about it.
Yeah. So yeah, and she was also the one, I think she got a pacemaker because she was the first character to have a heart attack. Rose was always kind of the one to do the serious stuff, which
Rose was cutting edge.
Yeah. I want to start watching the Golden Girls now. I never knew they tackled such serious subjects.
I'm telling you, the Golden Girls it's not underrated, because now I feel like people are really starting to understand the kind of the scope of how great that show really was. But it excites me when people discover it or rediscover it again, because I'm like, no, this show holds up. Like, it's weird, but it holds up. I mean, Dorothy and her little sweater vests, they hold up like in a way that I did not expect. But
you know, I watched 2 clips today. That was my due diligence. And I saw the herring war incident from the first episode where Betty White cracks them up. And the trivia, you like trivia, they actually said in the trivia thing that they lost their shit. They were being unprofessional. They were not being in character, and they kept it in just to show how funny Betty White is.
And then
hilarious.
Of course you hear all this stuff now. Of course, everybody loves to talk about how the behind the scenes drama because, you know, B. Arthur was a very eccentric woman by all accounts, and she wasn't the friendliest personality. It's not that she disliked people, but she was like she was kind of a loner, and she was kind of the person that, like, if you ask her a question, she's going to give you an honest opinion, not the nice opinion. You know what I mean? So people kind of labeled her as, you know, whatever. Apparently she didn't like Betty White very much. And it was because
of Betty White?
Yeah,
She's the most likable woman in the world.
It was because of her ability to really connect with the audience. So, you know, in the 80s, those shows were always, you know, taped in front of a live studio audience, as opposed to today where a lot of it's, you know, taped. And so between scene setups, when they would be changing the set or whatever, the actresses had the option, you could go out and kind of banter with the crowd, and Betty White would go out there and just start telling jokes, and she's very bawdy in real life, so she would be telling these dirty jokes and all this stuff, having the audience crack up. And B. Arthur apparently was never really able to do that. She wasn't very comfortable with that, and she also found that to be sort of unprofessional, so they kind of butt heads. But then you also hear that, like, even though she would get annoyed with her, B. Arthur would never go to lunch without Betty White. And if Betty White was late, she'd stay there and wait for her. Like, it was like a thing. She's like, no, I can't eat now. Betty's not ready. I'm not going without Betty. Yeah. So it was like she liked her. It was just, you know, they kind of had a difficult relation. But And like the woman who played Sophia, she had like severe stage fright, severe. And it would be like every Friday when they would be getting ready to tape in front of an audience, she'd have like a, like a mental breakdown, and they'd have to spend, an hour basically trying to get her to come out of her trailer, get on set, because she was so scared of messing up and stuff. It's just fascinating to me. I love trivia.
Wow.
I'm so weird.
Oh
I just
no,
read
that's
some trivia today to prepare
that's
for
some
the
nerdy
show.
weird shit, but that's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I read some trivia today to prepare for the show, and apparently it took Estelle Getty's, that's her name, right?
Yeah, Estelle
It
Getty.
was like an hour of makeup every day. I mean,
She's not old. She was
I know,
I
she
think
was
she
the
was one of the
youngest.
youngest people in that
she
cast.
was the youngest. That's the weird thing. She was the youngest of
Well,
all of them.
she wasn't the
And
youngest of all
I
of them.
think she was the first
She
to
was.
pass out
No,
though.
Rue McClanahan was the youngest of them. But
Are you
Estelle
sure?
Getty-
Because
yes,
on IMDb it said she was the youngest.
I am sure, Greg. I am quite sure.
Do you have something more authoritative than IMDb? Do you have super IMDb? That gives you the real
Super
facts?
IMDb.
I have the dates of their births, and she
Oh,
was
there you go.
she was a year younger than B. Arthur, but she was not younger than Rue McClanahan, who was the youngest, because Rue McClanahan actually was in her early 50s. Whereas the others
Yeah.
were like in their 60s. But
I mean,
anyway,
she
my
had to
biggest
do a
surprise,
ton of makeup and stuff. Yeah.
my biggest surprise about the show, for me personally, was that there was actually the word "the" in front of the words "Golden Girls." All of these years, I thought it was
You just thought
called
Golden
Girls. And then I watched the episode and it says The Golden Girls. I'm like, oh, I got the whole name completely wrong. I mean, that changes everything.
I love it. It changes your whole, blows your mind. I love that the theme song is sung by a woman. I think her last name is Fowler, but her first name is Cynthia, and that's the same name as my daughter. So, and I did not plan that. I found that out later, and I was like, oh.
So here's a little bit of trivia. The guy,
Very
do you
nice.
know who wrote that song, Liz?
Yeah.
Andrew Gold.
Andrew Gold.
Yeah,
Lonely Boy. I just found that out 2 years ago.
Yeah. And didn't he write, what was the other theme song? He wrote a couple, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know. Matt might know. Matt's a karaoke host.
I,
He knows
on,
a lot of
Matt.
shit.
I
Come on, man,
didn't
let's
look
do
up
this.
anything about Andrew Gold because I didn't care. So
He's a great
Fair enough.
songwriter. That's a great song. Thank you. Oh, let's all sing it together, guys. Thank you for being a friend. Wait, that's all I got.
Oh my
I
God,
don't know
no.
that.
Travel
know
down
anymore.
the road and back again.
Yeah.
The card is due. You're a pal and a
You're a
confidant.
You're a bunch of old ladies in a ranch house in Miami, and you yell at each other for no reason. Aren't those the lyrics?
Yeah, you ruined it, Matt. Sorry. You ruined
Wow,
the
vibe
beautiful
killer,
song.
vibe killer.
I thought it was the lyrics. I'm sorry. I learned the wrong ones.
I kind of like those ones better, though. Those are nice.
And Blanche
yeah.
is gonna sleep around.
I have to say, though, that B. Arthur's outfits were quite different from everybody else's.
Those
Oh my
sweater
Lord,
vests
She was
they were
incredibly
are
stylish.
legendary.
Not even a sweater vest, like all these very different giant billowing scarves and
That's what I'm
weird
saying. I think
pantsuits.
they were
and
like vests
Yes.
that used to go down past her knees.
I think they
like,
call those
literally.
tuxedos.
They were something, and she used to they had to make her wear shoes because she would always like try to walk around the set barefoot, and so in a couple episodes you'll see she keeps wearing the same pair of boots. So it was the only pair they could like get her to wear because she would just insist on being barefoot all the time.
That is
Liz,
such
you
a
might know
weird
this trivia.
quirk.
I know.
You might know this trivia, but now that you're a professional actress in film and TV, you should put this in your contract.
Okay.
Rue McClanahan, am I saying that right? Rue McClanahan?
Rue McClanahan.
She had a clause in her contract.
It's hard
that
for an
she got
Italian guy to
take
say
home.
Irish names. Just say.
She got to take. I know. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm a paisan. So she had in her contract. She got to keep all of the designer clothes that they designed for her personally.
Yeah.
But she had 7 closets full in her mansion in LA. She had
That's
designer
insane.
clothes at the wazoo.
I have heard of actresses doing that. And when I
never
did
did.
the
You should
movie,
do that.
I did ask them afterwards. I was like, "Can I keep these? These are amazing." And they said no. That's sad.
That's why you have to get your agent to put it in the contract.
Exactly. Your manager.
I know. I was like,
For the
now
next
from
movie
now
that you
on,
play
I gotta.
somebody's wife in.
Yeah, this is the difference between 2020 and 1980. You know, we rode around without seatbelts. Kids were smoking and riding bikes after dark. Now it's all a different deal.
It's
We were
totally
playing Ms.
different.
Pac-Man, willy-nilly.
So
That
where's
is great. Her outfits are Blanche's outfits, of course, are my favorite on the show. They're so over the top. Some of them are back in style now with those big, shoulder pads and the sequins and stuff. I'm like, Blanche Devereaux, always on point.
On the tip.
Where do
You
you
knew what
think
to do.
that you'll be able to take your work with the Concrete Cowboy and combine it with Golden Girls from this point forward?
The remake when you're older.
It's funny because I write also, and I just completed my first short film, which I'll be posting soon online and everything. But now that I've done it, I'm like, oh, I want to write more. Like, okay, next.
Give us the elevator pitch of the movie. I'm curious. What's the elevator pitch?
This short film is about it's an argument between a couple. The wife has found some pictures on her husband's phone that shouldn't be there, and it's about the argument that ensues.
That sounds interesting. I want to see that.
It was fun to shoot. Yeah, but
Pictures of little sewer rats that are being lassoed.
You can have that idea.
You're not allowed to have that on your phone.
You have the screen rights to that.
But no, I would love to, every time I watch the Golden Girls, at some point I find myself being like, I wish I could write some kind of a project for like 3 or 4 women, but my age range. But that's not Sex in the City, but something more like the Golden Girls. But I've never been able to come up with an idea that either hasn't already been done or is that isn't the Golden Girls, you know what I mean? And I'm not their age yet. So I can't do the Golden Girls, but then everything else that I try it ends up being too much like Sex in the City. So I'm like, I would love to be able to combine it where I write something that's a little more like
maybe
that.
you get 4 women like out in a rural area and you can call it Celibates on the Farm. And no one will think that it's connected.
Bump. Did I mention that Matt will be here all week?
But I'm bummed.
Please try the shrimp cocktail.
That could be a fun show, though. Celibates in the Farm.
Well, I thought, I was like, the pandemic sort of lends itself to a naturally Golden Girls type of situation in which, like, I don't know, maybe if it was like a couple people staying in an Airbnb for business and all of a sudden you're on lockdown, so you're forced to be in this house together. But I've never been able to take it much further off the ground than that. But yeah.
Actually, yeah, the pandemic would be the perfect device for keeping people in a place.
Keeping people in that house, yeah. Because it was like how you said, why would those 4 people be living in a house together unless they were, retired or, something like that. But I thought about that. I was like, the pandemic would be a natural reason for people to stay in the house, and maybe combinations of people you wouldn't necessarily, put together in the first place. But I don't know.
And eventually they all go stir crazy and then they invade the Capitol building in DC.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say maybe there's
Vikings.
It starts with a holiday, thing, and then they're on lockdown, and like these 4 sisters or 3 sisters or whatever are all locked together with their mom and their dad, and it's,
Yeah, see, like I could do that because I can only imagine like me as an adult being back in a house with my parents and my adult siblings and having to be stuck there for I mean I don't you see my face, it's like
there's a lot of comedy in that for sure.
and horror,
comedy, drama, violence.
Yeah, you could actually call it Good Times the sequel.
Yeah, I don't know if I could call it Good Times, just Times.
You just call
Bad
it
times.
Bad times.
Just times.
Fair
Awkward
to
times.
Midland times.
But yeah, fair to Midland. That's a good one.
Yeah, fair to Midland. There
And that
you
one
go.
takes place in the country with the celibates.
Yes, I like that.
On the farm.
It's a spin-off.
Yeah, no, you take a character and spin him off into the celibate
Fair
country
to
show.
Midland. Yeah. Awesome. Ah, that's great. You guys are giving me really good ideas.
We try. That's what we're here for, is just give other people
Yeah.
ideas that we can never make any money off of. 'Cause none of us are in that business at all. We're just here to yammer with each other. This
We're
is
R&D.
what you basically walked into is just us entertaining ourselves. And you kind
That's
of
good.
joined in on it. We have no aspirations other than what we're currently doing, which for me
You
is
know-
basically wanting to work again. But
Well, I do have a love for the law. I do love the law.
you're planning on
love
becoming a
law.
lawyer, Greg?
No, but I love
I was
the
gonna
law.
say,
I
are
love the
any of you
concept.
actually lawyers?
God, no. No.
Of course not.
I
Do
have
anything-
lawyers. I have lawyers
we
as
sound like
clients.
lawyers?
Okay. There you go.
I'm an
There's
out
the
of work. I'm an out of work karaoke business owner, and that's basically how this kind of got started. Is because I
Yeah.
had nothing else to
I
do.
knew a lawyer who defended me when I shoplifted when I was 20. So I have
I've
some
seen
experience with
lawyers
the
on
law.
TV. I've smelled a lawyer before.
I've played a lawyer on TV.
Yeah, I have some
Yeah,
experience.
no, I mean, I've played a few lawyers, but yeah, I mean, coming from a family with multiple lawyers in it, multiple lawyers and multiple nurses, it's like they definitely, for a long time were looking at me like,
Wait a
what are
second.
you
So
doing?
multiple lawyers and multiple nurses. What, they just didn't have the drive to become doctors? The other ones became lawyers. Why couldn't they?
Listen.
Come on.
Yeah.
That used to be my argument when they would pick on me for being in the arts. I'd be like, really? Why don't you go back to medical school for a few more years? See if you can make something of yourself. And then my mom would be mad. But I did say that once.
That's a good one. I like
I did say
that.
that. I said that once to a pharmacist friend of mine too, and we're having an argument. He did not appreciate. I was
Oh, you're
like,
mean. So you are good to be on this show.
listen.
That's hard.
The
I gotta say, being a
sweetness on
nurse-
this face is just on this face. It's a facade. No, I'm kidding.
I don't have the brains to become a nurse, but it's not a fun job. You got to wipe people's
It's
asses.
hard.
I mean, I'd rather flip
I
burgers.
honestly,
Which is
in a
what I
lot of
do.
ways, now that I have seen this side of it, in a lot of ways, I'm like, yo, nurses are those real unsung heroes. Like, you really don't know, and then it's kind of bizarre. But yeah, no, it's sad because unfortunately, I have a few family members who are essential workers right now, so they're putting themselves at risk, and I'm just like, I make movies, so like, yeah, it's apples and oranges. I mean, really, but. Yeah, for a long time, it was always just kind of like, so when are you going to get a real job? And I'd be like, oh, I have a real job, But yeah, it's cool. It's exciting. I have some pictures from the set, and once I was able to show that to my family, it was kind of like, oh my God, like she's really doing
Yeah.
this,
Oh, it's real.
It's like, how dare you not meet their
like,
expectations?
This is real. Yeah. It's cool because I think even when I told them that I got in the movie, I think there was a period of like, wait a minute, so she's in the movie with Idris, but like, okay, when she says she's in the movie with
She's gonna have
Idris,
one
like,
line.
what are we talking about here? You know what I mean? And then when I was able to show them some pictures, they were like, holy shit, Idris, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah,
it's
you weren't
cool.
just some guy. You just weren't handing him a coffee or something like, here you go.
I think they still thought I was a stand-in. I think we still all were like, nope. And I even, before I showed up on set the first day, I was like, I'm pretty sure they're going to fire me, or they're going to be like, you know what? We made a terrible mistake. Can you just be a stand-in? In which case I'll be like, sure. But, up until I was up on a horse, it was, because I did have to, I thought about this later. I did have to ride a horse. I don't know if it made it in the movie though, but I did have to ride a horse. I had to go to horse camp.
Horse
No.
camp?
Stuff.
Is that where they send all the courses for the summer?
No, I had to learn to ride. Fun fact, I'm allergic to horses. Caleb McLaughlin is allergic to horses, and Idris Elba is allergic to horses. So between the three of us,
Man,
It
Well,
was a
you just-
miserable day that
You
one
just need to
day
be
for about
thankful that the
5
horses
hours.
were not allergic to you.
No, they were not allergic to me. They were
That was
loved
good.
me. No, and I was afraid to tell people that I was allergic. I thought they would fire me if I told them. And so when they cast me, and then the next day they called me and they said, you know, we need you to report to horse camp on Monday. And I was like, okay. And then I like immediately called my doctor. I was like, what can you give me? I'm in a movie with Idris Elba. No, you don't understand. I need you to give me drugs, all the drugs. And he's like, okay.
You should have called up OSHA. You should have called up OSHA and said, this is a hostile work environment. It's unsafe.
Yeah,
OSHA
I know.
would
It
have
was,
dealt with that.
it was interesting between the three of us sneezing and the eyes just watering and everything. But
Wow.
yeah, I found out I was allergic to horses the hard way when I rode a horse in college. My friend raises horses and everything. I went to her home in upstate New York and rode a horse, and within 20 minutes my throat started closing and I had to go to the hospital and did the whole EpiPen and the thigh thing.
Wow, that bad.
So I was like, oh my gosh, if I tell them I'm
Whoa.
allergic to horses, they're gonna fire me because I'm like allergic.
It's a horse movie.
Yeah.
When you said the hard way, though, I thought you meant you like ate a horse or something. So when you okay, that's good.
No, just almost died. But no, it's, you know, it worked out. It worked out. Everything, we were all good. We're all
So
alive.
maybe
It's
they
all good.
should have changed it to the sewer rats to be more
Might have been
accommodating.
safer. It
Yeah.
might have been a little safer. I don't know.
They had
but, you know.
little tiny lassos getting the little rats as they're going down.
I was just
But-
afraid,
but-
like
Anyways.
all
But who's to
the
say-
antihistamines and stuff I was on. I was like, please don't let me say anything stupid to Idris Elba, or I'll never. I didn't say anything stupid to him, but I like went off about Idris Elba to this guy for 20 minutes about how hot he was and how attractive he was and how I just was like, oh my God, I was within touching distance and the things I would do to this man if we were alone, all this stuff. And then I walked away from him and got in my car and realized that person was Method Man.
Oh no!
So I didn't actually talk to Method Man. I just talked to him about all the things I wanted to do to Idris Elba. So that was embarrassing. But
So you didn't recognize Method Man? That's hilarious. From Wu-Tang Clan, right? Method.
I didn't. Yes, I know what he looks like. I've seen him in other things. I don't know why. I was just so overwhelmed by having met Idris that this man came up to me. How was it? And I went, oh my God. And I just went off about how hot he was. I mean, things I said to this man were like,
Method Man, you're no Idris Elba, buddy.
I was like, you don't understand. I would just rip his shirt off, like all the kinds of things.
So you see this
And
turn over
he
here,
just
Method
stood
Man?
there.
Let's go with the chopped liver, and that's what you are.
Yeah, like
Method,
the poor man.
Method Man
he
just
stood
walked away and
there.
went, oh, okay, girl. It's okay.
He stood there laughing at me, just yeah, wow, that sounds awesome. All right,
I think you
he
could
had a
admit
good
this
day,
too,
and I'm
because
like,
Idris
yeah, I had a
Elba,
great day.
you have a boyfriend, but that's Idris Elba's like one of those guys everyone gets a pass on. You know, like
I
if any
said
girlfriend
this
says,
to my boyfriend. We have an understanding. I said, look, you get Hallie, I get Idris. It's an understanding, and it's fine because I said if the
Beyonce.
opportunity arises.
You know, you wonder if
No,
celebrities
Carpe
go,
Diem, you seize that
I want to
day.
get some random person in this country. That's the pass I want. My spouse is, I want this guy Greg who's doing a podcast in Oregon for
Yeah.
my pass. I don't want anybody famous. I just want this unknown person.
I no, my boyfriend is an
confident
actor
that
also, so he's very understanding, thank God. But no, and thank God he's an actor because honestly, it would have been very difficult to come home that day after meeting him and having to explain to someone who's not an actor like how I was feeling. So thankfully, my boyfriend, I was able to come home and just be like, "Hey, just have a blah." He was like, "I know, he's great," it
Let
was
me
great.
tell you who you're not, boyfriend.
Yeah. No, and I
I
told
would
you
have been
he's the
girlfriended
one.
with you. I have a man crush
I
on
told you
him.
he's
I would
the
have been
one
girlfriended with
person
you
to
like
this day is like, I can't believe you didn't try to kiss. Like, why did you turn your head? Like, you could have had that story, but you turned your head. I'm like, don't tease me.
Well, one thing we have learned from today's episode is that it doesn't matter what you talk about. If Idris Elba is involved, you forget about the client.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's a good time to start wrapping up because we've had an outstanding interview here with
Nah, it's been
Liz
a lot of fun.
Priestley.
Yeah, that was so much fun, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you guys. It's
Yeah,
been really, really fun. You guys made me laugh a lot.
That was entirely accidental. We don't need to make anyone laugh. We guarantee 2 laughs an episode, and if you don't get them, you get your money back. But so you got more than your money's worth.
Well, I
So
feel a little guilty
you owe
when
us
give you any
money
good
now.
legal advice.
Yeah.
I feel a little guilty because we kind of like misrepresented ourselves.
In what
Well,
way?
I have legal advice. Don't punch a cop in the face if you don't know them. So that's my legal advice
Oh,
for the day.
that is good. You're a great lawyer, apparently.
I
That
know.
is some
I
great
didn't
legal
realize.
advice right there.
You know so much about the law.
I recommend that highly.
I have some legal advice. Don't incite a riot if you're the president.
Yeah, that's
Bad
not a
look.
bad idea either. It works against you
You
ultimately.
think people would know that, but it
Don't
bears
attempt a
repeating,
coup d'etat.
evidently.
Well,
Yeah.
we're going to end things off because we've been going for a full hour and a half, and we could definitely talk to you for probably like another hour and a half. But I'm sure you have like things in your life that you want to actually accomplish.
There's
But
40 other podcasts.
And by
to do.
things that I'm just gonna be going to sleep. I am extremely tired. That's it.
we
Like,
do have a soporific
that's
effect
my
on most
Wednesday night,
people.
you guys.
They listen to us and they fall asleep, and that's kind of the
Yeah.
category of listener we're going for. We're going for the ones who like want to get a good night's sleep. They listen to us.
Insomniacs.
They fall asleep. Exactly.
Exactly.
But, so I was going to say thanks, Maria, before we end off. So thanks, Maria.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Maria.
Maria. And thanks, Liz.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Liz.